I think one of my favorite trends, or maybe micro trends online, are those hopecore videos. Those videos that talk about the idea of hope and just hopecore videos in general, where they have like these different photos. They might use certain animes, and kind of use those pictures or stuff. They have this song called Jane. I don't know the original artist, but it's nice to watch them because they kind of put it into your head that life does eventually get better if you're putting the work and putting the time into whatever you're doing. Now, that way of thought gets contested so often. I'm going through it right now where I feel like my mental health has been in a constant decline, I would say. Um, the, Not only just due to college just tests and stuff, but I feel like there's been a lot that's not going right. There's things that are coming back and memories that are coming back that are just not right. That I don't want to think about, but they come. And I think to myself a lot, am I ever going to get better? Is are things going to get better? Is it worth waiting for the probability that something is going to happen, and is it worth waiting for the probability of hope? That way of thought has been something I been thinking about a lot. And I think as a general statement, our generation is known to have less hope. Even if we put in the time into something, uh, maybe not our generation. Maybe it's a general statement, but I do think a lot of people are very quick to give up. Because giving up is so easy. Once we get put into the rabbit hole, what's the point of climbing back up if you could just give up and you're done? You don't need to even worry about what you're doing anymore. You don't even need to worry about what's going through in your life. You just give up. It's an easy way to just leave. And that way of thought is also like such a bad mindset to have, but it's something that we all can easily go to whenever we want in our lives. Even if I told you to live life knowing that there is 100% chance that there is going to be, if you put in the work into something, there is going to be some sort of light at the end of the tunnel, that there's going to be a guarantee that you're going to make it out of whatever you're doing or whatever you're going through, you know, a lot of us would just keep doing what we're doing already, knowing that it is a guarantee, but, life isn't, nothing's guaranteed in your life. So that was the problem where hope kind of comes up a lot, and the idea of that, an idea of believing that things are going to get better, and you know, it's hard. It's hard to remain calm. You know, being calm really takes less effort, but the way our brain reacts and the way we have our, the beauty of the human mind and our fight or flight responses to certain things, um, it's just so hard to actually maintain, being calm compared to other negative emotions where it's just to fuel those negative emotions is much easier than to fuel the idea of being calm. And the idea that, having a mindset and knowing that everything will eventually get better is a mindset that you and I will have to go through a lot of things to even kind of sit with it properly. Like, obviously, I know it's good to have. It's good to be hopeful. It's good to be hopeful for anything in your life. That something is going to eventually change and I'm going to be happy or I'm going to be successful in whatever I do. But it's so hard, you know? Not only is it hard if you think about it in some sort of, you know, the other, like, conditions that are going on in your life or stuff that's going on, but hope really splits into two ideas. And hope splits into the idea of yourself, having hope in yourself with your own problems. And then second, having hope in almost everything around you. Which is the general idea of hope. That's how I usually kind of think about it. Is it worth having hope in other people? Why would you want to have hope in someone else? Having hope in yourself means you can still control what's going on around whatever's happening in your life. You can control something. You can change your statistic of, are you going to get better? Now, having hope in other people is going to be super, super hard. It's going to be hard when you think about relationships. It's going to be hard when you think about long-term friendships. And you might have the question of, if someone is so evil and has done evil things in your life, is there a point of even hoping that they change for the better? You know, kind of boils down to, once again, having hope in other people. Are you meant to have hope in anyone? That's a question that you and me are going to take a while to answer. I would say it is so hard to have hope in for myself, it's so hard to have hope in someone else that they are going to make the right decision. The right decision in my eyes. And that's not going to ever happen. There's no one's going to be in their life that's going to have the same thought process as you are. But you're hoping that that happens. You're hoping that they change. And I think that's something that I think about all the time. To have hope in my friends, to have hope in my peers or relationships that I've had or I make with other people, or people that I want to be in a relationship with. I hope that they make the correct decision. You know? And it's such a journey. It's such a journey that will take a while to reconcile with. You can't necessarily always have hope in one person or one thing. You can have hope in yourself, and I think I've kind of come into that idea, I guess, kind of accepted it to an extent. But the main issue with hope, and kind of what I want to end off with, is that hope is hard because of the distractions that this world gives you. The distractions that you'll face, the people you meet in your life that, they're genuinely the greatest, but there's certain things that you can't control, and you hope that they change, even if you don't necessarily have to talk to them. You just hope they adapt and change as a person, and it's going to be hard. And most of the time, having hope in yourself requires you to achieve just one win. To whatever you're doing in life. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot, is that I don't think I've been the greatest. I think I've failed more often than I should. I think I've been very mediocre. But, there's a lot of ways that this world has thrown at me to accept giving up, to accept just letting everything go. And the idea that, you just need one win, kind of just need one chance to end it off, that's all you need. That's all you need to kind of change the trajectory of your life. But yeah, that's all I really got. Sorry for the late upload. See you guys later.